The numbers of Queensland criminals released from prisons who then reoffend, well, it's dropped slightly in the past year, but the number is still very high. 51.6% of prisoners being released are being resentenced for new crimes within 2 years. So about half of them reoffend and get sentenced within those 2 years. Now, that is down from 57.5% the year before. That's according to the Queensland Corrective Services annual report. And inside the state's jails, prison populations are at capacity with more than 10,000 people behind bars, while serious assaults on jail workers and other prisoners has risen. That's all coming out of this report. Now, to break this down, let's turn to Bond University criminologist and former detective Terry Goldsworthy. He's on the line now. Terry, great to have you on the show again.
Yeah, good afternoon, Scott.
Well, let's talk about this reoffending rate. I think that's the one I'm really interested here. Slightly improved, but still 51.6% of prisoners, they're released, and within 2 years, they're resentenced for new crimes. Now, that figure seems incredibly high still.
Yeah, it is. And I guess, we just need to probably have a look at some basics of the justice system and what is the purpose of sentencing someone? And there's 5 major things we're looking at: punishment, rehabilitation, deterrence, denunciation, and protection of the community. So where you see these recidivism rates coming through, we're seeing a failure in rehabilitation, I guess you could say, which is one of the ultimate goals of our justice system. So whilst there has been a slight decrease in the last 12 months, the Productivity Commission, which looks at this stuff every year and puts out a great report on it, I'd recommend it to your listeners. It tells us that since 2014, there has in fact, though, been a steady increase in Queensland in the amount of prisoners getting released from prisons and coming back into a correctional sanction within 2 years. So this is actually a reversal of that long-term trend. So
what do you put that down to, Terry?
Continues.
Why would that be the case? If the trend has been going up, suddenly it drops down, well, everyone will say, somehow does that do with the pandemic, or what may it be?
Well, I suspect there may be a COVID impact, to be honest. We've seen crime reduce in almost all jurisdictions due to the impact of lockdowns and other aspects of COVID. So this year has been something of an aberration in terms of crime numbers and offending, etc., because of that impact of COVID. So whether this will continue will be the interesting thing to watch next year, but certainly it's an aberration of the long-term trend over the last 7 years, which has shown an increase in this reoffending by people who've been sentenced to prison.
All right, then, so 50% of the crooks that get out of jail, they reoffend within 2 years and get resentenced again. How does that figure here in Queensland compare to, say, other parts of Australia?
Yeah, we're sitting about middle of the road, to be honest. If you look in terms of prisoners, released from prison who go back to prison within 2 years, we're the 4th worst in Australia. If you look at prisoners released from prison who go back to a corrective services order or a prison sentence, so that's more inclusive, we're the 3rd worst. So, there's probably room for improvement there. And I guess that goes back to some things. If you look at our number of prisoners in the last quarter, it's up 2%. We're probably one of the biggest increases in Australia. And for the last quarter from the ABS statistics, we have the 3rd highest imprisonment rate in Australia.
All right, Terry Goldsworthy, always appreciate you being here on 4BC Drive.
Thanks, Scott.